Alright, so it's time for another build. As you can see, we're going with the MPC Silverado for this one. This is going to be a bit of a quicker build. I'm hoping to have it done by NNL West. I don't know if that's going to be possible, but we're going to try. So I guess to kind of talk you through the kit, and I'll talk you through the plan for a little bit. So first off, this is a kit I got secondhand for a pretty decent price. It was technically started, by which someone decided to put some blue enamel or something on the rocker on this side, which I'll take care of at some point. It's also missing the custom wheels that came with this, and there's a little crack in the A-pillar where it's separated, but all that is either not important or easily fixable. So this is going to be the main kit for it. And I'll kind of talk you through the plan. So this is going to be actually a lowrider. I've never done a lowrider, but I've had this idea in my head for maybe over a year at this point, and we're finally gonna get to it. So the plan for this is it's going to be a work truck. It will have a little surprise that I'm not going to unveil right away, but it's going to be a work truck. For those of you who are familiar with the 90s Silverados, I would love to replicate the infamous white peeling paint. For those that don't know, I'll throw up a photo right here. But these trucks were notorious for having this white paint that would flake off, and it would expose the self-etch primer typically underneath. So I'm going to try to replicate that on this build and just give it a worn out work truck look, but I'm going to have it on some Lowrider wheels, throw on some hydros, and that's going to be the look. So I already have a couple pieces gathered so far. So first one, this is almost kind of a public service announcement, I guess. That's probably putting too much importance on it. But these are, as a surprise to me, not the same as the new AMTs, the short box, single cab, and I think it's an extended cab dually, right? I totally thought that, so I knew that those were based on a promo model, but I did not realize that they were different from this model. I think this, don't quote me on this, but I think this is the USA 1, or was, or maybe, I don't know. But they're totally different bodies, which I'm a little disappointed by, because I found this work truck grill that's a single headlight spec, and I was going to put it on this truck, but it turns out they are not the same. So if anyone, I know I got this off Colts. I'll insert the designer here, but I also know that Iceman might still, or at least did, offer this grill. So just a heads up, they're great grills, but they don't fit the MPC. I'm going to see if I can mess with the file a little bit and make it fit, but if not, it's just going to get the stock grill. So the other part that I have is I did a little shopping. I have a couple of guys I've talked to who have a little more experience in the lowrider scene than I do. And one of them kind of steered me in the right direction for wheels. I was kind of asking him, because I had heard of Pegasus, and I was asking if Pegasus is still the go-to for wheels, and he said they're very good, but there are other options now. And so he turned me on to Lowrider Model Car Parts, who is out of Japan, and I picked up a few wheels from him. I have a, what do we have here? This is the Big Hub 14-inch. There you go. Kind of a bullet style cap on these, more of a straight spoke. And then I got a, is it a straight spoke? It is. And then I have, these are the straight lace number 2s, also in 14-inch. And these have a knockoff hub on them. And these are just gorgeous. They are a little on the pricey side, but if you're kind of like me and you only build 3 models a year, it's a little easier to splurge. Not ideal, but it is more feasible, I guess. So I have these. The only hesitation I have with them is I know Lowrider wheels and tires are typically pretty small, but these are pretty small. I mean, they are 14s. He has some 15-inch that I considered, but I wasn't as big of a fan of the style, so I went with these as a gamble. I mean, worst case scenario, I'll just put them in the stash or maybe trade them to someone. I don't know. But they do look a little small on a truck. Maybe that's the look? I don't know. But I sent some photos to a few of my lowrider friends. Gonna get their opinion. I'll see if I can find another option. If these don't work out, but we'll see. So then the other thing I have is, oh, here's also his card, Gavin Roberts. I'll link his page in the his page in the description if you're interested. Just someone I heard about through word of mouth, and so I'm spreading more info word of mouth as well. But back to the project. I also have one of these newer kits that I got. So this is a 70 Monte Carlo by AMT. I'm actually hoping to use this as a chassis donor in a way. So I'm going to rob the suspension out of this hopefully and use this as the supply for the hydros. This also has a set of wheels and tires. I looked at some finished build photos. They weren't super detailed. They were fine, but they weren't as detailed as the aftermarket wheels, so that's why I picked those up. But if these are bigger, I might end up using them. But we'll see. So yeah, this is going to be the chassis donor. It does hurt a little bit getting a new kit just for a few parts, but it's a 70 Monte Carlo. It'd be pretty cool to do something with this without the lowrider suspension. So I'm not totally upset about sacrificing this. But yeah, so that is going to be the game plan. So lowrider, work truck, OBS Chevy. We'll see how it turns out. Oh, another thing. So I was looking through a kit a bit, and if we look on the side here, so these are the wheels that are missing. They're a centerline wheel. Again, not too much of a. I'm not worried about that because I wouldn't use those kits those wheels in the first place. But it does have the stock 5.7, and I was kind of hoping that this would have a bit more of like one of those just ugly 90s emission-controlled engine bays. Because I wanted this truck to just be very stock-looking, very grungy, just very, as again, work truck. So if I have the time, I might try to update the motor. I can't remember offhand, but I think this is an 80s model technically. I think this is square body ended in 87, so this would have been an 88 at the earliest. So I think it might be an 80s model, and maybe that's why the engine isn't as ugly. But yeah, I mean, it's a fine kit as is, or a fine motor, so if I don't have the time to grungy up the engine a bit, we'll just run with that. But yeah. So also, I'm looking at this box art. If anyone knows who built this, I'm curious if it's Terry Jesse. I know he built a lot of... Did he ever... I know he built a lot for magazines. I don't know if he ever built any for the companies. But if so, Terry Jesse was actually the guy who ran the model car show ring, I guess, in Montana, where I used to live. So I met him a few times. Super cool dude, very talented, lots of history in the model building scene. So yeah, that'd be kind of cool. I know he wrote a book on customizing pickup trucks, and maybe that's where I'm getting mixed up, is I know he built the cover model for that book. But yeah, so random tangent. I'm gonna get started on this. I'm gonna mock up the wheels, but I'm also going to get started on putting the suspension on this and see if it fits together like I'm hoping it would. So that is all for now, and I'll see ya. We're only a few hours into this build, and I'm already learning a lot more about lowriders that I realized I didn't know. So first off, I opened up the Riviera kit and was going to I wanted to have the truck three-wheeling. So I was following the instructions on how they do it, and they have you graft the extended and the lowered chassis components together. And I was looking at this, and I realized it's a lot less complicated than I was expecting. I guess I don't know what I expected, but I thought lowrider front suspension was a lot more complicated. But in reality, it's very similar to air suspension, which in hindsight makes a lot of sense. But anyways, so I ended up just using the stock suspension from the truck. So what I ended up doing is cutting up the upper control arm, moving that up, cutting the lower control arm, moving that up. That's basically it. Just to kind of give it that lean. The other thing I'm learning, which I just realized a moment ago. So I originally wanted this truck three-wheeling so that the curb side was up. And in my mind, it's like, okay, so if the right side of the truck is going to be in the air, the left side is going to be compressed. So that's why I lowered the left side and then left the right side at stock height. However, looking at the diagram and the instructions here, what appears to be the extended side is on the driver's side, and then the retracted side's on the passenger, which is what I mimicked. So it's actually going to be three-wheeling so that the passenger side, the curb side, is up, which I guess is okay. It's not what I had in mind, but it's not worth redoing the suspension over. So that's basically where we're at now. I would show you with the body on, but we're officially at the point where we cannot tuck these tires. The driver's side front tire does not tuck up into the stock fender. I did recess the fender a little bit right there, if you see. I'm probably blocking the knife, just to give it a little extra room. But yeah, so what this will essentially look like, see if I can angle it more towards the camera. Once we do up the rear suspension, we'll have that passenger side front up in the air. So the other thing that leaves me, this chair is so loud and I apologize, but the other thing that I'm going to have to figure out is the rear suspension on the truck is a parallel leaf. So not ideal for a lowrider. So I'm going to study the rear suspension on the Riviera, see if I can figure it out. It's probably, it wouldn't be a 4-link. I don't know. But I'll look into that, see if I can adapt the truck suspension to do that. Otherwise, I'm fine going back to the Riviera. The Riviera happens to have the same width as the truck, so when I was mocking up the Riviera suspension, it would have fit perfectly. It's just the right width. But I didn't have to. So we're going to mess with the rear suspension. I also reached out to a few of my buddies. My friend Alex, that has built a couple lowriders. He's also the one who recommended the wheels for me. He said they look pretty good to him. I sent it to Jason, who, albeit is a mini trucker. He said they look a little small to his eye, but that's also because, he said, it's probably because he just thinks lowrider wheels are small, which, being a mini truck guy, that makes sense. I have also reached out to Rich. I have not heard back from him, but he actually has a Datsun 720 lowrider, like full-blown lowrider, got the dancing bed and all that. No, I'm not doing a dancing bed on this on the Silverado, but I reached out to him, so we'll see what he says, and then I should have a final opinion. I think they're fine. They're growing on me. They are tiny, though. The other thing I looked into is with the kit tire, the one that comes with the Riviera, it is 2 millimeters in diameter greater, but it is also for a 15-inch wheel. However, these are solid rubber and would require a lot of carving to get the wheel swapped over, and I didn't really want to do that because these feel like they're glued onto the tire, and I am not messing with wheels that have that skinny of a spoke. So Plus, I like the stretch look. So yeah, that's basically where we're at now. Next big problem to solve is going to be the rear suspension, but I'm going to save that for another day. So as of now, this is where the truck is. Front suspension is basically done, so ready to three-wheel. And then all we got is the rear to go. So thanks for watching. Hope you guys are finding this build interesting. Believe me, it's going to be very cool if it comes out the way I'm picturing it, which I hope it is. But I have, again, I got a tease. I have a really cool surprise in store for this that I think a lot of people are going to like. So keep an eye on this build and I'll keep you all updated. Thanks for watching.